Hey everyone, this is Jade Reed with Jasper County Conservation, here today to talk to you about plastics. So, what is plastic? Plastics are derived from materials found in nature, such as fossil fuels, mineral, and plants. And actually, the very first plastics were made by nature. The three types of plastics that we find are petroleum, coal, and cellulose based plastics. Now, petroleum and coal are actually non renewable, natural source based plastics. That means that they will not break down. That's the plastic that is going to continually be here forever. Plastics made out of cellulose or plant fibers typically are renewable plastic, which means that they actually will biodegrade and they will go back into the earth. Plastics are simply chains of like molecules linked together. These chains are called polymers. This is why many plastics begin with poly, such as polyethylene, polystyrene, polypropylene. The term plastics actually encompasses all these very different types of polymers. Plastics in general are lightweight with different degrees of strength. Plastics can be molded, cast, and blown pretty much into any shape that you can imagine. They can actually be put into fibers for clothing and different textiles. Many different types of coatings that go on cars or glues and sealants are actually a form of plastic as well too. So the interest in making plastics arose around the 1800s to replace scarce materials such as ivory and tortoiseshell, things that they were making buttons out of, other materials. The first synthetic plastics were actually derived from cellulose, a substance found in plants and trees. Now, the cellulose is a very important polysaccharide because it's the most important abundant organic compound on Earth. It's everywhere. Cellulose is a major component of tough cell walls that surround plant cells and is what makes plant stems, leaves, and branches so strong. Cellulose was then heated with chemicals and it resulted in a new material that was actually extremely durable, and thus we have plastic. So here I kind of have a brief history of plastic, like a timeline. And so I don't want to go through everything with you because obviously you can read all of these dates and what goes along with it. But the things that I like to point out actually is that in 1908 is when cellophane was first invented, and that was kind of like our very first saran wrap. It wasn't the best, but it was kind of the first comings of saran wrap. And not until 1953, so almost 50 years later, saran wrap was actually introduced to the public, meaning it took that long to perfect saran wrap. And then the other date that I really like to point out is 1954 when styrofoam was invented. And if you think about it, that really wasn't that long ago. And then you think about the amount of styrofoam that is in our environment. It just does not go away. It does not break down. And so, just that short period of time that styrofoam was invented, how much damage we've actually done with styrofoam alone. Now we're going to talk about how we use plastics. From the time you wake up till when you go to sleep, you are in some way touching, using, or being surrounded by plastic. From the meat at the grocery store being covered in plastic, from the bag that you put your meat in at the grocery store, that is a form of plastic. From when you wake up and you brush your teeth, you have a plastic toothbrush. Your toothpaste container is plastic. When you go to put your makeup on, it's in a plastic container. Your clothes, actually, there's a lot of clothes, specifically workout clothes, actually have plastics embedded into the fibers, along with your tennis shoes. That rubber sole, quote unquote, that you have on your tennis shoes actually isn't true rubber. It is mixed with a form of plastic. Your phone is made out of plastic. The tires on your car are made out of plastic. Most cars are made out of a lot of plastic. If you go to get lunch for the day, guess what? Your to go container is made out of plastic. Maybe they give you some silverware. It's plastic as well too. Just so many ways that we are surrounded by plastic from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep. And it's kind of overwhelming actually. But plastic isn't all bad. It's actually a good thing in some ways, especially with our automobile design. Our cars are a lot safer now because of the different plastic designs that we have instilled in them. I mean, our airbags are made out of plastic. Building a home, our homes are way more efficient and it saves us a lot of money by insulating it with different forms of plastic. our safety gear, all of those reflective vests that construction workers wear or that our police officers wear. It is a form of plastic, but it saves lives. Hard hats save lives, and it's a form of plastic. And more importantly, our plastic helps protect and preserve food. There is so much food around the world that could potentially be wasted had it not been protected and preserved in plastic. To continue on why plastic is good, if we're going to get rid of plastic today, millions of people would be sick, starving, or dead within a year. Think about that. Millions of people would be sick, starving, or dead within a year if we just snapped our fingers like Thanos and all of the plastic was gone. And that's because 3% of food in developing countries is wasted before it reaches the store. 3%, that's not a whole lot. But in other countries where they're not using plastic on the daily to help preserve and protect their food, upwards of 50% of it is wasted. Now, if we didn't have plastic here in these developed countries, we would have 50% of our food wasted. That's a lot of food that's being wasted. This mass packaging of food is an important barrier against microbiological contamination, meaning you are able to eat a pineapple from Costa Rica, and I live in Iowa. And it's brought to me safely, and I am able to eat it. I can eat exotic fruits from all over the world right here in Iowa because of plastic. And not only is it protecting against all the hands that are touching it, but against all the potential diseases and germs that you could get and bring into your home. Now, you still need to wash that food when you bring it into your home, but it dramatically decreases the amount of germs as well as it prolongs the life. So it could be picked in Costa Rica 2 weeks ago, and I'm just now getting it, and I might still have another week yet that I can have that pineapple on my counter before it needs to be eaten. And I really like this quote. To envision a world without plastic would require us to change the basic fabric of how our society functions, meaning we rely on plastic so much that our entire world would be thrown up in arms if we got rid of plastic. And it's just crazy to think about how much we rely on it. And I think that plastic is the symptom, and our centralized food system is the disease. We need to change the way that we source food. We need to go back to farmers markets and people raising their own food if we want to get a jump on reducing the amount of plastic in our food systems. So we talked a little bit about why plastic is good, because it is good. It does a lot of good things, and we need it to be safe and healthy. But why is plastic a problem? The number one reason why plastic is a problem is because it's not biodegradable. Now, there are some biodegradable plastics, but most of the plastic is not biodegradable. A lot of it contains additives and chemicals in order to make it pliable and to turn it into those shapes and forms that you see stuff in them, and animals in the environment are hurt by plastic a lot of times. Americans generate more trash than any other region or culture or country, and very little is actually recycled. 400 million tons of trash and plastic is produced each year just by Americans. 40% of it is single use, meaning you use it one time and you throw it away. Straws, single use. Use it one time, throw it away. Plastic cutlery, use it one time, throw it away. 8 million tons of that 400 million on average ends up in the ocean from land every year. And that's just in the United States. That's not anywhere else. It's the United States. 8 million tons end up in the ocean from land every year. And, even trash here in Iowa, eventually it works its way into the ocean. The top 3 items found in the ocean concerning plastic are plastic food wrappers and containers, plastic beverage bottles like Coke bottles, things like that, and plastic bags are actually the number 3 things that are found in the ocean. And it's estimated by the year 2050 that there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean. Think about that. By the year 2050, which actually is not far from now, it's estimated that there will be more plastic than fish in the ocean. And right now, chances are if you are eating seafood, you're actually eating teeny tiny microplastics. Because 70% of all seabirds have these teeny tiny microplastics already in their stomach. And all the fish have them in their stomach, and these microplastics don't break down. I mean, it was just discovered maybe 6 months or so ago, at the very depths of the ocean, things that aren't even touched by humans, that those animals down there actually have microplastics in there. We can officially say that plastic now covers every inch of the earth, which is kind of sad because we aren't directly in contact with those animals at the bottom of the ocean, but somehow they have microplastics in them, which is just really sad. And 30% of all sea turtles actually have their stomachs full of plastic as well too, which when you think about it, when these animals, when their stomachs are full of plastic and it's not biodegrading, they're not bypassing it, it's not being digested or anything like that, um, then it just keeps filling up in their tummies, filling up, and eventually they're going to starve to death because anything that they eat, they're not going to be able to digest it very well, or they're going to feel like they're full, but then keep eating because their body knows it needs to be eating, and eventually they just starve because they're not even able to take anything and process it through their body, which is really kind of sad. And you might be thinking, well, we live in Iowa, so, my plastic really isn't going to affect those animals in the ocean. It does, but it also affects animals here in Iowa. I mean, look at these pictures. We have a duck up at the top with a soda can, the plastic rings that go around it. I always recommend to cut those up if you are going to get one. You want to be able to cut up every single hole, even little teeny tiny ones, because just below that, right there, there's a painted turtle that obviously got stuck in it when it was young, and then it grew around it. You can see its shell literally growing around the plastic. Then at the bottom there, we have a coyote with some type of, peanut container or some type of food container stuck on its head. And then we have a skunk with another plastic lid stuck on its head. So these are things that are in our own backyards, and they too are being affected by plastic here in Iowa. And I know I don't want to show these photos, but I feel like everybody needs to see them. And I know people have seen them floating around on the internet, but they're up at the top. That, like I said, that seabirds, 70% of all seabirds have plastic in their stomach, and this was one that died. Look at all of that plastic, and it obviously can't pass it, so it's going to starve to death. And 70% of the seabirds on Earth look like that, unfortunately. And then we've got sea lions and seals that are stuck in these nets. You've got sea turtles that get stuck in the nets. Sea turtles, they need to be able to breathe air. So if they get stuck underwater, they're going to drown. Same with these sea lions. And then down at the bottom, there you can see that sea turtle swimming and all those bags everywhere, all the plastic in the water. And to a sea turtle, that looks like a jellyfish to them. I mean, jellyfish are a huge source of nutrients for sea turtles. It's one of their main things that they eat. And so, we might be able to tell the difference. But even if you're standing back far away, those don't look like plastic bags. They look like jellyfish, like they could be jellyfish. And that sea turtle is going to eat it. And again, it's not going to be able to process it. So and some other facts that I have as well too about throwing things away, decomposition of these items. When it comes to aluminum cans, it takes 200 years to decompose. When it comes to a diaper, 450 years to decompose. When it comes to plastic grocery bag, it takes about 20 years to decompose. Fishing line, it takes 600 years to decompose. Styrofoam cups take 50 years, plastic bottles take 450 years to decompose, and cigarette butts take 10 years. But the worst is actually plastic cutlery. Plastic cutlery can be anywhere between 100 to 1,000 years, depending on the thickness of the plastic cutlery. And you can see up at this picture of this turtle, it has a plastic knife stuck in its nose. I mean, that's just so sad. And there was a video circulating online of a turtle found in Costa Rica with a plastic straw in its nose. And as they're pulling it out, it is a full-length straw that is wedged in its nose. And the turtle is actually crying. It's shedding tears, and it's a big realization, especially after watching that video, like thinking twice about using that plastic straw. And some more video or some more pictures here of this turtle caught in these plastic nets. That turtle is not alive, unfortunately. There's a turtle with a plastic bag. Again, to that turtle, it could be a jellyfish, and then a dolphin playing with plastic. I mean, I don't know if that dolphin's going to eat it, but dolphins are pretty playful animals, and it'd definitely be playing with it, but it doesn't need to be playing with plastic. Um, and you might be thinking, where is all this plastic? You know, we don't see our streets overflowing with plastic. We don't see our rivers completely overflowing with plastic here in the United States. We consider ourselves to be fairly clean people. I mean, we see plastic on the side of the roads. We see garbage cans overflowing with plastic, or we do have different spots of our rivers that, you know, we have plastic collecting on there. But a lot of America actually exports our plastic waste to Asia, Africa, any country that is not ours, and we aren't getting rid of the problem. We're essentially just spreading the problem. We're not creating a solution. And we're sending it off to these countries that have no means of getting rid of it. And actually, these countries are starting to put their foot down and say, you know, we're not going to take your plastic anymore. So I wouldn't be surprised within the next couple of years if, you know, we start seeing more plastic because we're no longer able to put our plastic on these big ships and ship them off to other countries and have them deal with it. And, you know, a lot of these other countries, especially in these photos I'm showing, um, you know, they may not have the means of processing the plastic. And so this is plastic that they've used, but they don't recycle it. They don't have a way of getting rid of it or turning it into something new. And so it's clogging up their livelihoods, their way of living, their fresh water. I mean, it's really sad that this is the way that it is. And down below, this picture of this beach here, all of that plastic, that I guarantee you somebody could walk and pick up all of that plastic, and then the next time that that high tide comes in, it's going to bring in more plastic. When I was doing research in Costa Rica, part of our assignment, or part of our duties was to actually go collect and clean up the beaches every single day. So every single morning we'd get up and we'd take a whole bunch of garbage bags and we'd walk the beach. I mean, and it was I think like 3 or 4 mile beach, but we'd walk the length of it and pick up all the plastic. Then we'd put it in garbage bags and haul it back to our camp. But then we'd be out there the very next day, and the same amount of plastic, if not more, was back. It was like, you know, we didn't even do anything the day before because the ocean at night during the high tide and throughout the day had brought in all of that plastic. That's just all the plastic that's sitting out there waiting to be brought into shore. So it was kind of sad, and I think the saddest part was we were cleaning up and I found this hermit crab, and the hermit crab was in a toothpaste cap, using a toothpaste cap as a shell. It was so sad. I mean, we ended up pulling him out and finding him a new shell to live his little life in. But a hermit crab using a toothpaste shell as a cap, it's heartbreaking to see that. I like to include this slide just to kind of add to the fact that we have plastic everywhere. Some things maybe that you didn't know actually had plastic in them. So gum, a lot of gum that everybody is chewing. Gum used to be made with natural rubber. But now, since gum is kind of mass produced, there's a lot of gum that you're actually chewing like a synthesized rubber, which is made out of plastic. So you're essentially chewing a plastic, putting a plastic inside your mouth. Wrapping paper around Christmas time, you know, that shiny wrapping paper that's nice and smooth, you actually cannot recycle that because that paper, it's not true paper, it's covered in a plastic. I use just plain brown paper. It looks just as good to me. I could put on a cute little cloth ribbon or something like that, and then I can reuse the ribbon. But I know if I just use plain brown paper that I can easily recycle it, or I could reuse it for something else, or using it for drawing paper for the kids or something like that. The cigarette butts that people smoke, when the part that you're inhaling, that you're putting in your mouth, is plastic. Not only are you breathing in the toxins from the nicotine, but you're also breathing in the toxins that were in that plastic, that were used to form that little, the soft part on the end of the butt. A lot of salts are actually, they're now finding salts to have plastic in them because there's so much microplastic in the ocean. Even when they're doing, evaporating the water to make sea salt, they're finding microplastics in these salts, unfortunately. And the next thing, the soaps. There's a lot of states that are actually banning these face washes and hand washes that have those microbeads in them. Those microbeads, they don't go away, unless you're using a natural abrasive bead like walnut shell or coffee or something like that. Those little teeny tiny beads are actually little teeny tiny pieces of plastic. So you put that on your hand and you think, oh, I'm getting a nice, microdermabrasion, or you put that on your face for your face wash and you think, oh, I'm getting a great microdermabrasion. What you're doing is you're actually just washing those teeny tiny microplastics down into our water systems, and those are incredibly hard to get rid of. And so I know states like California have completely banned any soaps, or face washes that have these teeny tiny microplastics in them because of that reason. And then athletic wear. I love athleisure wear. I love to wear leggings. I work out a lot, so I'm always in athletic wear. And unfortunately, the fibers in athletic wear are, made with forms of plastic. Athletic wear is actually like the worst form of clothing you could wear in forms of, plastic getting into the water, because when you wash it, those little teeny tiny fibers, those plastic fibers, are coming off of the clothes, and they get into your water and they can clog up, water systems. But it's really hard for our big water filtration systems like the city has, or that the county has, to filter out those teeny tiny microfibers. And I'm telling you this because I'm not perfect, and I still wear the athleisure wear. And, I just try to make up for it in other ways, and nobody's perfect when they're on this plastic journey. I would be the first person to buy athleisure wear that was made without any plastic, but unfortunately, it's just not the case right now. Some other things, glitter is obviously plastic, and glitter, and you guys know, once it's out, it's everywhere, and you can't get rid of it. And then toothpaste. Those toothpaste that have little teeny tiny, dots in them, those are actually microplastics. So when you are brushing your teeth with gel toothpaste that have these little tiny beads in them, you're putting microplastics in your mouth, and you are either A, spitting them out down the sink for it to go into our water system, or B, you're putting the microplastics in your body. And we looked at the seabirds, and we know what happens to them when they eat a lot of plastic. What's going to happen to us if we are consuming these microplastics over a long period of time? A lot of coffee cups, even though you think it's paper, if you were to put hot coffee in a plain paper cup, it would not hold up. The cups are lined with a plastic in order to keep it from decomposing, disintegrating, and burning your fingers. And so that's why a lot of those cups actually are not recyclable. Along with these coffee cups, tea bags. I love tea. I'm an avid tea drinker. And I was really surprised to find that a lot of the bags that are holding these teas are made out of microplastics. Or even if it's not, in order to seal them together, that little dab of glue that they put on the tea bag is actually made out of plastic. So, it's been a journey for me as well, too, to try to find different alternatives for these things. And lastly, like a soda can. So a Coca-Cola bottle or a Coca-Cola can, if it was just the Coke inside the tin can, I guarantee you that Coke would disintegrate the can. I mean, people put Coca-Cola on car batteries to get the battery acid off of them. It eats away the battery acid. So they have to line those soda cans with a plastic so that the drink itself does not eat away the tin can. Now you should think about that before you put Coke in your body next time. That's my little plug there. So we've been talking about plastic, how it's good, it's bad, and it's getting a little negative. Let's see, but let's turn it around. What can we do about plastic? I'm going to throw one more negative in there. Americans on average use 500 million straws every day. 500 million single-use straws every day. That's just in America. That's not worldwide. And so that's why I have a little straw up there with an arrow through it. Things that we can do. We can stomp the straw. We can get rid of those single-use straws. And I know there's a lot of people who are kind of 50-50 on this. Well, straws aren't the problem, it's other things. But straws are one of the problems. And I have alternatives for all these things. I carry around a little straw with me in a nice little container. And it's a metal straw, and I kind of open it up and I whip it out. I also, there's the argument that people who need straws medically, they need that bendy part, or they use it to feed themselves medically. I actually have found medical grade silicone straws. You can get them in different widths. So you can get it all the way down to like a regular straw size to like an extra large smoothie size, and they clean out really easily. They're really easy to stick in a container if you want to travel with them. But there are ways to get around using that single-use straw. And when you think about it, do you really need that straw for that glass of water at the restaurant, and you're going to be there for all of 30 minutes, and then you use the straw, and then it's going to be thrown away? That's when I just whip mine out if I feel like I really need a straw, or I just drink from the side of the glass. Some other things, getting rid of chewing gum, kind of getting rid of that out of your life, maybe not using those plastic utensils. I know it's kind of hard to carry around plastic utensils with us, or carry around regular utensils with us so that we don't have to use the plastic ones. But just trying to do your part in reducing the amount of use for those plastic utensils. Family reunions, birthday parties, things like that. Um, Plastic utensils are used a lot. I know in my family, we have this big tin, and it's just full of a whole bunch of random silverware. And anytime we have a family reunion or a family barbecue or a birthday or something, we get that tin out, and everybody has a real fork, a real spoon, and a real knife, which, it's kind of nice to use real silverware. And then it all gets washed. We help wash it, and then we put it back in the tin, and we take it out the next time we need it. And we don't use those plastic knives, forks, spoons. And it's really not that hard. There's also an extra set of dishes, just random dishes that we've accumulated over time, so that we're not using those plastic plates or those styrofoam plates. Some other things that you can do is a shampoo bar. If you're wanting to nix the plastic shampoo bottle, which on a personal note, I have not made the switch over to the shampoo bar. I just haven't found one that I like yet. But that option is out there for somebody if they do want it. I tend to have really dry hair, and I'm getting some mixed reviews about shampoo bars, about whether or not people with dry hair can use them. And I also have a lot of hair. So it's just one of those things that I just haven't yet made the switch over to. A really easy one is switching out your grocery sack. So Hy-Vee actually gives you a 5-cent discount for every reusable bag that you bring in. And there are times when I bring in like 5 reusable bags and I only need 3 of them, but they give me 5 cents off for all of the bags that I brought in, which is kind of nice. Plastic containers. So instead of just using your plastic container once, even if you use it a second time, it's no longer considered single-use plastic. If you use it again, it's no longer a one-time use. I like to keep cool containers or anything like that around, because if I do have family over and I want to send home leftovers, or if I want to give leftovers to the neighbor, those containers work really well, because I personally use glass containers and Pyrex containers to store my extra food in, and so I don't want to be giving those out to family members, and I don't want to be giving those out to people. So the plastic containers are really nice to use. Switching over to just a plain bar of soap instead of having a pump soap, that's just a super easy switch. And it's something that we've done in our house, and I really like it. I really like having the natural soap as well. Some other things that we can kind of switch out is toothbrushes. They make bamboo toothbrushes. I have not used them yet, just because I have an electric toothbrush. But I've heard really good reviews about the bamboo toothbrushes, and the great thing about it is it's almost completely biodegradable. I've seen some where the bristles are biodegradable, and then I've seen some where the bristles are not biodegradable. You just kind of have to search for those things. Another thing to kind of switch out is napkins. Now, napkins aren't necessarily plastic, but they come in a plastic wrapping. But our family, we use cloth napkins, and it just saves a lot of money. And we've kind of made the switch from paper towels as well too, and have pretty much just stuck to using cloth towels. Saran wrap is a big thing I feel like everybody uses, and an alternative that I have found to that is this beeswrap. And what it is it's actually like beeswax with cloth, and then you just heat it up in your hands, and you use it like saran wrap. I can make a burrito or like a chicken wrap or something like that, and then wrap it up in this, and then I just put my hands on it and warm up the beeswrap, and it seals itself instead of using saran wrap. And then all I have to do is just wash it off. And the great thing about this is they usually have about a year and a half use to them if you use them consistently. But then you can just throw it away. You can actually compost it too because it is 100% biodegradable. And then you just buy new. I mean, that is awesome. And they always have cute little fun prints for that. Some other things, they're actually starting to make bamboo fiber diapers. They're becoming a lot more popular. Like I said, diapers, it takes 450 years for that diaper to decompose. And so they're trying to come up with alternatives. There is, the cloth diapering method, but some people just really don't want to do that, but they also want to try their hand at being eco-friendly. And so these bamboo diapers are a great alternative because they actually do biodegrade it. I mean, it's not biodegrade in 10 days, but it does decompose eventually. And then another thing I have a Melaleuca cleaner here, but buying like cleaning products, things like that as a concentrate, when you go to the store and you buy like your Clorox multi-purpose spray or something like that, you are paying for water. And they're not just Melaleuca, but there are other companies out there who will ship concentrated cleaners to your door, and you just use the same plastic spray bottle or the same metal or glass spray bottle over and over again, and you pour your concentrate in there, and then you add your water. And if you think about it, one of these small concentrated cleaning bottles makes 12 spray bottles. So 12 spray bottles, that's, six, or let's rephrase that, 12 spray bottles, that's 11 spray bottles you kept out of the landfill by just using the one. And then if you order it again, and you're still using that same spray bottle from the first time, there's 12 more spray bottles that you've kept out of landfill, and so on and so forth. So just some really great opportunities for things that we can do. We can make the switch. It's not the end of the world to make the switch, and it's actually not terribly difficult. So I also like to include a little bit about recycling because we're talking about, what can we do? What steps can we do differently? What things can we switch out? And honestly, the first part of being a solution to a problem is taking responsibility for your part of the problem. Meaning, if you have plastic in your house or if you're continuing to use plastic, what should we do with that plastic? We should recycle that plastic. I try to do as much research as I can for you so that you don't have to go out and do that. It's a part of this. The whole point of this presentation is I did all the work. You just had to sit and listen, and now you can go out and you can try to do your part to fix the problem. So I've compiled a list of things that you can recycle. Now this list is from our local recycling and trash area. And the things that you can recycle is paper, shredded paper, but the shredded paper has to be contained in a paper bag. You cannot put the shredded paper in a plastic bag. If they get a plastic bag full of paper at the recycling plant, what do you think they're going to do? They do not have the time to go through and take everything apart and untie your double knot on your plastic bag and dump it out just so that that paper can be recycled. No, they are going to throw it away. They've got deadlines, they've got a time to do things, they just don't have the time to do that. Something you can't recycle, even though it's cardboard, is pizza boxes. So pizza boxes, it's all that pizza grease on there. I mean, it's tainted. You can't use it anymore. So pizza boxes actually need to be thrown away. Glass jars and bottles can be recycled, but they need to be washed. If they are not washed and rinsed out, more than likely they will be thrown away. They don't have time to go through and clean up all of your glass for you or clean out all of your bottles for you. So it needs to be washed. And the lid actually needs to go right back on. It used to be that you had to take the lid off and have it separated from the bottle. But I think they were having a lot of problems with those lids clogging up their machines, so now they ask for you to have the lid screwed back on top of the bottle. Food and beverage containers, again, they need to be washed, but no cups. If you go through the drive-thru at McDonald's, you usually get a plastic cup if you get like a large or something like that. And those plastic fast food cups, they don't take that type of plastic. There's just not a market for it, so it cannot be recycled. Therefore, it has to go in the garbage. And then yogurt and margarine tubs can be recycled, but you cannot recycle the lid. Now, I have a YouTube link for Metro Waste Authority in Des Moines, and they do a nice little presentation of what can and cannot be recycled. But I'm not going to play that link here. I will just kind of give you a gist. If you want to, you can go to the Metro Waste Authority website, and they do have that video up there, or you can just copy and paste this URL at the bottom of the screen. But basically, their theory or their saying for recycling is if it has a twist off lid, if you can twist the lid, it can be recycled. If you cannot twist the lid, it cannot be recycled. And then things like Cool Whip containers or cottage cheese containers, things like that, those actually cannot be recycled. Again, there is not a market for that grade of plastic, so they can't take it. But yogurt and margarine tubs are the only types of plastic kind of in that category that they will take. So again, if it has a twist off lid, so if it's a shampoo bottle and you can twist off lid, you can put that in the recycle. If it's a hand pump soap and it has a twist off lid, you can recycle it. If it's a multi-purpose cleaner spray bottle that has a twist off lid, you can recycle that. So I would encourage you to go to this website and watch this video because it actually is really fascinating and it really does help. Something I was really surprised to find out is that the berry containers, like that are strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, come in, you can't recycle those. And all these years I've been recycling them, thinking I'm doing my part to save the environment, putting those in the recycle, when actually you can't recycle them. There isn't a market for that grade of plastic, so they just throw it away. So I'm learning with you as well, but I definitely encourage you to go to this the website and actually watch the video for yourself. So I have a couple more slides and then I'm done, but I just wanted to end on a positive note. I have done countless hours of research for you. I have found the neatest eco-friendly products that are kind of an alternative to using plastic. Now we've talked about some of them already. We've talked about the straws. Up here I have pictured metal straws, and then I have those silicone straws that I was talking about up there as well too. Obviously water bottles. Reusing a water bottle. My husband and I almost always have a bottle of water with us when we go out to do errands, we go out to go grocery shopping. We just make a note to fill up a bottle of water before we go anywhere, and then we have that with us. And, that saves money as well, not only using a plastic bottle, but it saves us money. Some other things I found, if you're doing a home improvement project, compost or composite decking. Composite decking is like an alternative to using other decking, and it's actually made out of recycled plastic, which is kind of nice, and then it doesn't weather away. When we talked about family reunions and maybe using the the styrofoam plates and things like that. Just buying paper plates, paper decomposable. You have to make sure that it does say decomposable because there are some paper plates that actually have like a plastic coating on them. And again, that plastic coating, it's not going to biodegrade very well. And when it does biodegrade, that plastic is going to degrade down into the soil, and we don't want that. And so you can find these products. You can buy bulk paper plates like this, biodegradable, compostable paper plates on Amazon. And then over here, I've got, you see the Avoplast products. These I just recently found out about within the last year, which is really cool. I was on a trip, and they were putting a straw in every single one of the drinks we were receiving, and I was refusing the straw every single time, and they kind of told me to because it was by the beach, and I said no, 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 I'm saving the sea turtle, and they said actually no, these are biodegradable straws, and I was like, I haven't seen a biodegradable straw that doesn't disintegrate in your drink like a paper straw does. And so they showed me what they were, and they're actually straws made out of the pits of avocados. And so this company in Mexico has found a market. Obviously, avocados are a very popular fruit that everybody's eating right now, and guacamole. And so instead of just throwing away that pit, they have been able to take that pit and turn it down into a fiber and make a straw out of it. And I believe when I did my research on it, this straw was completely biodegradable in like 100 to 200 days, something like that. And when I was drinking out of it, it didn't feel like it was plastic, and it didn't decompose in any of my drinks. But it was really cool that somebody has taken this niche for the avocado pit and turned it into a straw. And especially with like coastal beach resorts, things like that, guys are the front runners for using a lot of single-use plastic. And it was invented by a company who was trying to specifically aim at those companies to switch over from using a single-use straw. And then they went beyond the avocado pit straw, and they've actually created cutlery that biodegrades. And then I think some of it doesn't biodegrade and some of it does. And the stuff that doesn't, it's actually made out of like 75% recycled material out of that avocado pit. So it won't biodegrade as long as normal cutlery. Remember that normal cutlery was about 100 to 1,000 years depending on the thickness of that plastic. This one is cut in half when it's using these products. Some other things that I really found that I like as well too, in the middle here, that silicone bag with the carrots in it, these are called stasher bags. And they are a medical grade silicone reusable plastic baggie. And these things are the bee's knees. I used to use the other bags pictured on the slide that have the sandwich and stuff in them. Those are itsy ritzy bags. I still really enjoy using them, but the problem with the itsy ritzy bags was it had a zipper at the top, and anytime I'd put like chips or crackers or sandwiches in it, air would get through it and it would get a little dry. So with these silicone bags, they seal up really nice. But the nice thing about these is that they wash out really well. You can put them in the dishwasher. You can put them in the oven, I believe. You can freeze them and you can boil them. And then your food doesn't get freezer burnt either. You can also steam vegetables in them in the microwave. They're just a completely versatile bag. They're amazing. I love them so much. They are a little pricey. It's about $10 for one sandwich bag. But when you think about how many bags you use and how many bags you go through, it really adds up, and you could save a lot of money just by getting one of these. I had the concentrated cleaner up there as well, and then we talked a little bit about the toothbrushes. They're also making paper towels out of bamboo fibers. So some paper towels actually have plastic embedded in them. They're not all just a paper towel. These ones are just trying to use a different fiber. Some other things, I found this wet brush, and this is new. It's made out of compostable material, and the brush handle and everything, I think, but the bristles will decompose in 5 years. and I've been personally using one for almost a year now, and I have pretty long, thick hair, and it works really well. So I was really excited to find that. Other eco-friendly things, not necessarily, a biodegradable product, but just switching out your light bulbs to energy efficient light bulbs. Or like in the corner here, switching out your napkins and using a paper napkin. Um, there's even some recycled apparel. I found recycled aluminum foil. There's lots of different products out there for you to use that are kind of a switch or an alternative from using something that is plastic. And now we are at my final slide. So again, I did a lot of research to find these awesome products for you. At the top, if you didn't want to use maybe those avocado pip cutlery, you can use paper cutlery or wood cutlery. And I've used these before. I've used wooden spoons or wooden forks for cake, and they work really well. And then you can just throw them in the garbage and they completely decompose. I've got essential oils up here just because sometimes I've seen where you can make your own scents instead of using, spray bottles. And there's lots of things you can use essential oils for instead of buying something fragranced in a plastic bottle. We have some sunglasses. These are actually made out of 100% recycled material. And then these ones specifically, I believe, have wood frames, so they do biodegrade eventually. Um, Dental floss, actually, there's a lot of dental floss that is made out of plastic. So I have found real cloth dental floss, that wax that's on normal dental floss that is a plastic coating on it. And that actually prevents the dental floss from biodegrading as quickly as it needs to. And then we've got the Keurig K-Cup. The Keurig, the Keurig, the Keurig. The guy who invented the Keurig doesn't even own a Keurig because he regrets it. And now he is spending his life trying to reverse the effects of the Keurig, those single-use K-Cup things. But if you do love your Keurig and you need your Keurig, they make reusable inserts so you can just put your own coffee in. And so those are just kind of an alternative so you can still have your machine and not, use 1,000 plastic cups that don't ever biodegrade. Now they are making biodegradable K cups. And I have a friend who works at another county conservation, and they were doing a test to see whether or not it did biodegrade completely. They put it in their compost, and the only thing that didn't biodegrade on it was the sticker. So they found that they had to keep going in and pulling out the stickers for those K cups. But other than that, the rest of it was biodegrading. I have found walnut scrub brushes or sponges for doing the dishes, and those actually biodegrade. Again, cloth diapering if you want a different alternative than regular diapers, but we did find the bamboo diapers out there. The little bags, these are a lifesaver. How many of you go to the grocery store and you need to get produce? You need to get apples, or maybe you need to get one onion, and you grab for those really thin bags that are sitting there to put it in. And then what do you do with the bag when you get home? You either throw the apples that's in the bag into your fridge or on your counter and you don't think about it, or you take everything out and then you throw the bag away. Don't try to reuse them for picking up dog poop. Trust me, it does not work. It's not good, especially with a 70-pound German Shepherd. They don't work. But they make these bags that are for produce. And I have one in all of my bags. I take the grocery. I keep one in my purse actually, and I just throw all of my produce in there and I zip it up, and then they can scan all my produce through the bag. I can take it home. I can rinse out my produce through the bag as well too. I keep the bags in my fridge. With the produce in them or on the counter. And I've had people at the store just watch me as I'm filling up these bags with tomatoes or whatever I'm getting that day, and compliment me or ask where I got them. And I found these ones on Amazon, and the ones I personally use are on Amazon. But again, just something so small, one little switch can make a big difference in terms of our use in plastic. At the bottom there, that straw that has the little container with it, that is the straw that I carry around with me. And then it folds back into that container when I'm done, and it comes with a little cleaning brush. So if I have something other than water, I just remember when I get home to try to clean it up. And then I have found biodegradable garbage bags, and they've been holding up pretty well. And again, I found those on Amazon as well too. You kind of notice that I'm finding a lot of this stuff on Amazon, unfortunately. It's the mindset of local businesses and of big retail chains like Walmart, Target, things like that. We need to change the mindset so that these things are available for us, so that we can just go out and get them instead of having to rely on places like Amazon. And so if us as a consumer are wanting these products and they're in high demand, then those big chains are going to make the switch and start carrying these things that we can use as an alternative. And so that's why I encourage to, voice your opinion about when you're making the switch and how easy it would be if, a local store carried these things, because unfortunately they just don't right now. But thank you guys for tuning in to my plastic presentation. If you have any more questions, you can always give me a call at 641-792-9780. And again, thank you.